Y'all, let me let me take a sip of this Coke, cause this is about to be a deep one. Let's get into it. Hello, Yudi here from It's a Wrap. Let's get into it. Let's not waste any time. Why? Because I got a lot to say. I got a lot to say about this book. What book are we talking about today? Cut Both Ways by Candice Brathwaite. Oh, please tell me I'm not pronouncing the last name wrong. Anyway, so this is Candice's debut first novel. She's previously had two releases, one an essay, one I believe a memoir about motherhood. But this is her debut literary fiction novel that's also a young adult novel that's based in the UK, that's based in London. She's also, I believe, a London based, the author herself is I believe a London based writer, if I'm not mistaken. Let me not get to lying. But she is British. And this story follows the protagonist, Cynthia. She's 16. Her family has gone through this big tragedy of losing her brother, her older brother, to a stabbing. And, for 2 years they've been grieving. And the father feels that they need a change in scenery. So they end up moving to a small town outside of London. And in the small town, Cynthia meets the Goddard brothers, and it's Isaac and Thomas. And Isaac is adopted into this white family, and both brothers end up pining over Cynthia, and life becomes really complicated for Cynthia. And it's hard being a 16-year-old and dealing with matters of the heart. So how do I feel about this book? Oh, the plot was so interesting to me. This was actually a book I purchased off of not a recommendation, but I actually linked the YouTuber in her video in the description. But I was watching a booktuber talking about Black British releases that released this year, and this was in her video. And like, first of all, isn't the cover like gorgeous? The cover is so pretty, and when you flip to the inside, it gives like the back of their heads. So yeah, I love the cover. I love the description, and ever since I read, which wasn't that long ago, not thinking about it, ever since I read Monday Is Not Coming, I've just been wanting to read more young adult novels, because I haven't really been reading. When I decide to choose a book to read, I don't really reach for that section of literature. So yeah, it was super interesting. I wanted to purchase it. I actually had to get it off Amazon, because it's not like a book because it's a UK book. It's not something that they currently have in like Barnes and Nobles or at like my local bookstore. So I ended up having to get it off Amazon from this seller who specializes in like UK literature, and it was only in paperback. But I think there's audiobook. And I feel like as I give my critiques, because I have them written down so I don't forget them, but I feel like I would have enjoyed this book more if I had possibly listened to the audiobook, because a big thing in the book was that Cynthia, I'm just gonna call her Sin. Sin felt really at home with Isaac. She was all like, "Oh, when I hear you speak, it just reminds me of South London." And mind you, I live in the US. I don't know the nuances of like a South Londoner. I'm assuming that they're from South London. I'm pretty sure that she says distinct, like specifically South London. I don't know the differences between like regular old English accent from a South Londoner's accent or a South Londoner's accent from the rest of London accents, you know, especially if as a black South Londoner. So especially when reading the book, I didn't catch the nuances of how Isaac switched from like, because she will also bring up in the book, Cynthia herself, she'll be all like, why do you like come in and out of your South London accent and the way you speak? Like, why do you talk like there's she specifically in one part, like you speak like there's like tennis balls in your mouth, but you don't, like as a reader who is not of that, you know, that's not in that scene, that's not doesn't isn't really familiar. I couldn't read those distinctions, and I was like, maybe if I had listened, I would have heard those distinctions, and I would have processed this book a little bit differently. And then also, I feel like in that same regard, maybe I would have enjoyed this book more because I'll get to that at the end because that was another thing. This is completely not related to the book. It is related to the book, but not related to like the plot of the book. Um, I feel like if as maybe if I was like a young for like a teenage Black Londoner, I would have appreciated the book and the nuances of this book more than as a person reading from the perspective of not no longer being a young adult and also not ever being to the UK, especially South London in my life. So I couldn't really, you know, when you read a story and you're really like enveloped and like all you feel like you're like all the sensory details and all that stuff, like you feel like you're really in the moment with the character, like you feel what the character feels and you're really like invested. I feel like I was just reading, but I wasn't really enveloping myself into the story because there was just, I feel like nuances that I just I wasn't picking up on for me to really enjoy this book. But then also, I don't know if there's anybody that will ever see this review that is from like South London and is um Black British, but um also, you know, I don't know if it was done well. Like I don't know if it was like a or cheesy is not the right word, but if it was like a surface level look or experience of being a Black South Londoner, or if it felt very authentic and you felt you really identified with Cynthia and Isaac when they talked about like their experiences of being in South London. Okay, so that was my one issue. My second issue is there were interesting plot like points. Like the plot was interesting. Something about the pacing of it for me was off. Um like everything seems to like happen in like the last 20 pages of the book, and for me the book didn't really pick up probably until like 50% in, until it was like about 100, maybe 120, 130 pages in. The beginning is for me was quite slow, and I wasn't invested in Isaac and Cynthia's relationship. Like it the relationship doesn't pull at your heartstrings. You actually don't really feel invested in um Isaac or Thomas. Like you like you like the even in the intimate scenes that um Cynthia has, like I thought, you know, when that moment of like physical intimacy and you're just kind of like, oh, like a needle drop kind of moment, like a pen could drop, like that kind of like gasping, like, oh my goodness, what? Oh my goodness. It's like the anticipation for that. I was just kind of like, I'm not invested. I don't care. And the, going back to the ending was so, it felt so rushed and it felt incomplete, but there's a way to do like an incomplete, like leaving us hanging ending that makes me feel like, yes, that was a good ending. But this just felt like, did she mean to end it right there? Like, it seemed like there was more that was supposed to go in this story. Was like, it was just like, they had her, like, Cynthia has this conversation with Isaac, then we get into the epilogue, and you just start like, so that's how it's going to end? And the epilogue didn't really feel like an epilogue. It was just, and then there was a whole new, like, storyline that comes in like the last five. It was very strange. Like, I didn't bring this up, but Cynthia has a friend that she texts from her hometown throughout the book, and she just randomly shows up at the end, and it's like plot twist, but it was just so to me it felt so misplaced. Like, it seemed like it didn't need to be there, especially when there was like this other big plot point going on at like the very end of the book, which was not surprising. I'm gonna let you, like, it was not surprising. Like, we knew from probably from the beginning, the first time they met, that that was going to happen at the end. The book it was predictable. It didn't, nothing came as like a surprise. Um, so it was disappointing. And I said, maybe if I was, like, again, I would appreciate this book if I was a young Black Londoner, um, and I would feel seen, but. But overall, because the back of the book it says a love story that is more than just black and white. But is it really a love story? I just didn't feel the love. So it felt kind of hollow. The love story that occurs in the book. It wasn't very invigorating. It wasn't, yeah, it left a lot to be desired. That's all I'm going to say. And then also, specific, the copy that I'm holding, the copy of the book that I'm holding, when I got the copy, so there's like 40 pages in my copy that's repeated. So when I got to page 138 in the book, it started back again at 91. And then I'm just missing 139 through 186. Just, yeah, those pages are missing in this specific copy. That's why I'm holding this copy, because I had it tagged so I could remember. But yeah, just overall, I want to give it a 3, but there's other books that I have given a 3, which is making me rethink my other scorings for other books that I feel probably are 4s more than they are 3s, because, like, the the premise of the book, the intentions of the book, I want to love it. Like, I want to love it, but there are like things that are not, that are really, that could have been done better in the book, which is why it's making it hard for me to say I'm going to do like a 2. Um because also, it's the first novel. First literary fiction novel. So like, these are things that are maybe like with like in future novels, as you evolve as a writer, like just in terms of, refining your storytelling, can could have made this book better. Um but I'm I'm gonna give it a 3. But this is making me rethink, like, especially my last review. Thinking specifically of Stay With Me, because I think I gave Stay With Me a 3. And Stay With Me, while I wasn't like super enthralled and it didn't like sit with me like other books have. It was really well, for me, it was really well written. And this one is just not like, I can't, like, that three is different from this three. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, I guess we're giving Cut Both Ways a 3. Tell me if you've read it. Tell me if you're interested in reading it. I'll see you guys in another video. Again, let me know if you've read Cut Both Ways and your thoughts on it. And we'll be back for another book review on another day. And you guys have a great day whenever you are watching this. Deuces.